funny because they're such a drab little bird, but their behavior and their song are just stunning.
This remarkable creature is called the American dipper, or water ouzel, and it is quite simply a delight to watch. Welcome to Incredible Idaho. I'm Jack Hemingway. Tonight we begin our show with a profile of this unusual bird. Naturalist John Muir calls it the mountain stream's own darling. He writes, "Among all the mountain birds, none has cheered me so much in my lonely wanderings, none so unfailingly. For both in winter and summer he sings, sweetly, cheerily, independent alike of sunshine and love, requiring no other inspiration than the stream on which he dwells."
Here comes the second bird.
It's obvious how the bird got the name. It always seems to be in motion, constantly bobbing up and down in quick, nervous dips. The dipper is the only truly aquatic songbird, making its home along rushing rivers and tumbling streams.
See, the nest is on that ledge there. You can see the dome of moss, or heap of moss.
Botanist Roger Rosentreter and wildlife biologist Kath Strickler both have an interest in these energetic little birds. Aside from their cheery disposition, it's their nest material that intrigues Roger.
Right there. Most nests are by more current and rapid type water, but that one seems to be so overhung and protected that it's happy there and free.
This is a pretty consistent nest site.
Yeah.
They've been here every year I've been coming here.
Right in the center of your screen is a dipper nest, clinging to the cliff face. Watch carefully, and you'll see the adult go in. It's not your typical songbird nest. Dippers are relatively large, and it must also accommodate 2 to 6 offspring.
This is the wall that amazes me. I mean, that wall is 3 inches thick.
And
It's really
they often take the moss and they'll moisten the moss, and when the moss is moist, they'll weave it together, and then as it dries, it hardens, kind of like making adobe houses or something.
This is one of a number of dipper nests that Roger has collected for his research.
Well, I've been interested in several animals that use different unusual plant materials for their nests. And this is a good example where the aquatic mosses are very important for providing food for the dippers and their nest building material. And it's a very good insulating property.
The nests are often difficult to detect. This one was spotted in late spring along the Columbia River Gorge in Oregon. It's hidden behind a waterfall. Watch what happens when the adult arrives with food. Research biologist Kath Strickler is more interested in the bird itself and its dependence on clean water. She's recently been awarded a scholarship by the Charles de Vlieg Foundation to conduct her doctoral research.
My study is going to be largely focused on the relationship between water quality and dipper populations. I'll be looking at a bunch of different parameters of dipper ecology in relationship to different land treatments, the 2 most important of which are going to be wilderness management and timber harvest, and the road building associated with timber harvest. Are they both down there? Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, he's pretty active down there.
2 birds are foraging along the river's edge, searching for aquatic insects like the mayflies and caddis that make up their diet.
Oh, in the water down underneath.
Isn't that cool?
Oh, very nice. They do swim underwater. They swim underwater. There are actually accounts of them walking underwater, although I've never seen it. But they, in places that are where the current is strong enough to make it difficult for humans to stand, these birds will be standing in the water, swimming underwater, swimming upstream, diving down to the bottom, and coming up again in more or less the same spot. They're incredible.
When they emerge from the water, they appear perfectly dry. All birds have an oil gland on their back, right above the tail. They use this oil for preening their feathers. In the dipper, this gland is unusually large.
They just completely coat themselves with this oil so that when they go dive into the water, they can come up and just look like they haven't even gotten wet.
Now, watch closely, and you'll see one bird bringing food to the other. Later in the year, you might see something like this. An adult bird feeding young that have recently left the nest. But it's too early for that here.
I'm not going to run staircase, I'm just paddling around.
Dippers seem to have a strong tolerance for people. Most river runners have a favorite dipper story. Birds perching on rafts or riding along on a kayak.
Human presence doesn't really bother them, but for a few minutes. And the people swing off this rope swing, splash around the water, and they just fly in and out and do their business and don't seem to be bothered by recreation. And I see the bird back upstream. You want to paddle up there? The more you get to know the dippers, you can often be in a very kind of violent rapid, and in your boat you can pull into a calm spot within that rapid and just kind of get it, very peaceful and watch what the dippers are doing. And they're in among all this whitewater, just like this is the best place to be. There's oxygen and there's lots of in the water, and there's more aquatic insects where there's rapids, so they enjoy that.
There's something calming and transcending about watching wildlife that feeds the soul. In an elegant essay published in 1911, naturalist John Muir describes the harmony of sounds surrounding the water ouzel's world. He writes, "In a general way, his music is that of the streams, refined and spiritualized. The deep booming notes of the falls are in it, the trills of rapids, the gurgling of margin eddies, the low whispering of level reaches, and the sweet tinkle of separate drops oozing from the ends of mosses and falling into tranquil pools." On tonight's Creature Feature, we're going to answer the question, what makes a dipper dip?
One of the theories is that it's courtship behavior, which is unlikely because they do it year-round. Another theory is that it's a form of communication, as it would be in courtship, but they may have evolved this visual forms of communication, including the eye winking and the dipping, because they tend to live around areas that are really noisy. Another one, and one that I think is probably the most plausible, is that most birds have almost purely monocular vision. They don't have any binocular vision like we do because their eyes are placed on the sides of their head, so they don't have a lot of overlap. And therefore, they don't have a lot of depth perception. And bobbing is sort of a form of triangulation. It allows them to get different views of the same thing to kind of give them a little bit more depth perception. I think that one's probably the most likely.